Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman, and from my last video, Did God Murder Jesus? There was a commenter, I Want to Be Jew, who said maybe Jesus murdered God. Wow, that's frozen. So I look like an alcoholic because every time I make a video, I'm having a beer. But every time I think about religion and theology, I want to drink. So what happened was, with this, I shouldn't be doing this all the time. Like, you seen my other video when I was Mrs. Wayman doesn't let me do videos anymore after having a couple. But what happened was, I put this in the freezer to cool it down because who wants to drink warm beer? And I forgot about it. I left it in there too long. So now the whole thing was ice, and I popped it and it exploded all over. I don't know if I could. So anyways, did Jesus murder God? You bet. Why? Because the literature says he did, and the mythological progression says he did. So kind of like Uranus was murdered by Cronus, and Kronos was murdered by Zeus, so too was Yahweh in essence elbowed out and murdered by Christ, after Yahweh himself elbowed out and maybe in a way murdered the Canaanite deity. Hell, even Indra was pursued and later murdered his father. So it happens cross-culturally. So I guess the deity was murdered in a whole bunch of ways. Politically, socially, and religiously, and culturally. This happened when Christians started interpreting the Jewish literature in their own way. And we see the results of that. You know, you can't read Isaiah 53 anymore without it having some kind of Christian influence. I had to quit reading New Testament literature for about 2 years just so I could read Hebrew literature and Jewish literature the way it should be read. I had to get some good Orthodox Jewish commentary to go back and read that. And that's one of the things that I think is pretty good about fundamentalism. You'll never hear me say fundamentalism is good in my videos because I despise it. But I guess there's a small time when fundamentalism, when you want to return to something, fundamentalism can be a positive thing, as long as it's not overly hostile, and as long as you're able to turn it off when the goal is met. The return, the looking back, is a way of, like, reformatting. If you think of it in maybe computer terms, reformatting the religion, looking back, going back, resetting the hard drive, and then building out from there. But there needs to be a point where it turns off. And a lot of times these people get in power and they're unable to turn it off. And it runs amok like a unchained monster, slaying anybody in its path, to where the only people right in a belief system are, you know, like the 3 people in the cave, you know, wherever that might be. So, I think that, yes, Jesus did slay and murder God. And in all those areas that I mentioned, socially, politically, religiously, and culturally. And God isn't even mentioned in the New Testament, only when he speaks from the sky. And he sends the sign as a bird, which is another interesting thing. Greek diviners and sages used to interpret bird signs and things like that from Zeus. That comes up quite a bit in the Iliad and the Odyssey, which is pretty interesting. So, yeah, I would say so. And you're right. Based on the mythological progression. So, there you have it, friends. Like Britt Kane making 100 videos in one day. But I'm on vacation, so it's not all that bad. Be well, and remember, if everybody's thinking alike, somebody isn't thinking